Senator Obama, if you win North Carolina and Hillary Clinton wins Indiana tomorrow, where do you go from there?
We go to West Virginia and then Kentucky and Oregon and Montana, Puerto Rico, South Dakota. We're going to be campaigning until June 3rd. But one of the things that I have seen both in Indiana and North Carolina is not only the continued interest in this campaign, but people really being concerned about how any Democratic nominee is going to fix the economy and deal with some issues like gas prices in an honest, forceful way. And so I'm glad that in these last couple of days what we're seeing is a real debate about some substantive policy issues.
Well, let me ask you about that, Senator. You were opposed to Senator Clinton's plan for a gas tax holiday, the same one that Senator McCain favors. Are you proposing any kind of short-term relief for this current gas crisis that is affecting so many Americans?
Well, look, I meet Americans every day who are really hard hit. They're seeing, $100 out of their paychecks for the month because of rising gas prices. That can make the difference about whether or not they can pay their bills. So absolutely, I want to make sure that the tax stimulus package that I had proposed that would follow up with the initial rebate check with another one if you had 3 consecutive months of unemployment, that gets out to people right away. And in fact, we have a better chance of getting than the proposal that John McCain and Hillary Clinton have put forward. But understand this, Katie, the idea of a gas tax holiday is a phony approach. It is a gimmick. We saw this tried in a number of other states, including my home state of Illinois. And what happens is, at best, you're seeing pennies over 90 days. But more typically, what happens is that the oil companies, they just jack up prices by the same amount as the gas tax was as it's suspended. And so consumers don't see the savings. And what's worse is that Senator Clinton says that she's going to pay for it by a windfall profits tax that everybody will tell you has no chance of being passed because George Bush won't sign it. And so instead we'll take money out of the federal highway fund that fixes our roads and bridges and could cost thousands of jobs in places like Indiana or North Carolina. So this is a typical Washington response trying to get through the next election instead of taking seriously the need to raise fuel efficiency standards, invest in alternative fuels, solve this problem, and give people some meaningful relief. And that's why I think it's a real choice for people in this upcoming election.
Let me talk to you about the primaries tomorrow. You have outspent Hillary Clinton in several states like Ohio and Pennsylvania. You are the front runner currently. Why wouldn't you win in the Hoosier state?
Well, look, there's no doubt that we've had a tough couple of weeks with the remarks of my former pastor and the wall-to-wall coverage on that. And as a consequence, we weren't able to get out our message about investing in renewable energy and clean energy and creating millions of jobs or rebuilding the country's infrastructure or providing tuition credits for students so they can go to college. So it's this week, fortunately, that we've been able to talk about those issues, the bread and butter issues that people care about and that are at stake in this election. And so it's always going to be it was always going to be a tight race in Indiana. And I still think that we've got a wonderful chance of winning Indiana, but it's going to depend on turnout and it's going to depend on whether or not voters looking at the choices decide, do we want to keep on doing the same things that we've been doing in the past, or is this an opportunity for us to make a clean break, stop with a special interest driven, dominated Washington, and start having our leaders talk honestly with the American people about how we're going to meet future challenges.
Senator Obama, what will you say to those superdelegates if you don't do better among white working class voters tomorrow? How will you convince them of your electability?
Well, I think, Katie, this issue has come up lately because it's the only argument that Senator Clinton has for winning the nomination. But in fact, we've won by substantial margins in places like Virginia in places like Iowa and places like Wisconsin. The polls indicate that we can beat John McCain in all the swing states, and your own polls most recently indicate that we can beat John McCain. So I don't think the question is going to be electability. The question is going to be who has a vision for moving this country forward and providing the leadership that will allow us to finally deal with our energy crisis, will allow us to finally put in place affordable universal health care. That's going to be the question that I think superdelegates should ask, because that's the question that voters have asked. And the fact that we're in the lead as a consequence of the results in primaries and caucuses, as well as the popular vote, indicates the degree to which I think our vision is the one that can win in November.
Let me ask you, you mentioned a CBS poll. Our new CBS New York Times poll shows that almost half of the voters believe that political motivation was the main reason you renounced Reverend Wright. What's your reaction to that?
Well, you know, it's interesting because if you think about it, Katie, had I been thinking politically, that would have happened much earlier. And I would have denounced him immediately. But this was a relationship that our family had had with the church, and we tried to handle it with some sensitivity, and in fact ignored some of the politics behind this thing. But you know what your poll also shows is that the American people have put this behind them, and that they are focused on who in fact can help solve the problems that they're facing day in, day out. Jobs being shipped overseas, high gas prices, high food prices, worrying about how to save for retirement. Those are the issues that we're going to continue to talk about today and tomorrow and all the way until November.
Are you concerned, though, Senator, that your relationship with him may dog you or continue to dog you as the Democratic nominee during the...
Katie, as I already indicated, your own polls indicate that the American people are ready to move on the issue, and that's why we're going to stay focused on the issues that are really going to matter to the people who are, you know, struggling right now to make sure that they can achieve their American dream.
Do you think your relationship with Reverend Wright has been permanently damaged or severed?
Yes, and I already indicated as much.